I'm making a vanilla cake. I have how many? I have 8 treat boxes I have to do this week, and then one 2-tier cake, and then one tier cake. So
You busy. God is good.
yes, he is. I'm struggling with
Full
uh,
time.
huh?
So are you a full-time baker?
Yes, I am. I do
Nah.
it from not from my home. We have a separate house that my husband bought so that I can bake from because he was tired of me taking over the kitchen at our house. So that's what I do, and yep, I do it full time. I'm
Nice.
I actually just took like this 10-day challenge, and I was like excited to do it, but it talked about things like pricing your cakes right and counting the cost for like all the ingredients. And I'm like, prices have went up, and I
Oh
just
yeah.
don't like people. I feel like I'm starting to take my business as more like a business now. And so like trying to get people to reflect that, even though I've been making stuff for them for years, but like actually charging the right prices now, like people are like, I don't know. I'm like, you ordered a cake for like the last 5 years. I know you want this cake on this day, but it's just still like, they're like, that's a lot. And I'm like, well, at some point you have to like charge your worth, and you have
Yeah.
to realize like, I don't want it to just be a hobby anymore. I want it to be an actual business.
It's Tuesday.
So just like that adjustment has been a lot, but
That
it's gonna be okay.
makes it harder. It's like, it's not that only you probably weren't pricing your items what they should have been priced, but on top of that, the cost of food has gone up. So not only should you
Right.
now starting to price it how it should be, but on top of such a big influx in price, so that going into that too. Yeah, some people don't understand it. It's like you charge $25 a dozen for cupcakes. I'm like, yeah, if you and
Yeah.
not for the ingredients, but the time you put into it and your heart, you know what I'm saying, and trying to make it look pretty. You can't. And the thing, when I first started off with baking, I knew it would be. No, I thought I knew it would be easy because when I first started off baking, I was first taught with just a Betty Crocker cake box. So it took me 20 minutes, let it cool hardly for no time, then frost it and serve it to my family. When I first started getting to actual like real baking with a real cake, you can't do that. And I found out the main thing with baking is tedious. You have to take your time with it. So people don't understand how much time you're actually putting into doing what you do.
Right. And if you never like baked anything, some people just imagine like they never baked before or they never cooked anything. And so like they're at a restaurant and they're like, man, this dinner is taking all day, well, you're at a restaurant. So it was people before you, and then it's people that's calling in, and then it's people that are here and a mistake may have been made there. And so it's just like, you gotta be patient, even if it's like it's called fast food, but like you want quality fast food, or do you just want like something thrown together? Because either way, you'll be disappointed. I rather like it take longer and I not be disappointed than
Right.
like for something to be longer and then I'm like, this wasn't even worth it. I feel like that is so much, so much
Right.
work to me.
I so agree with both of you. And the thing that I think I'm going to do, like maybe October 1st, or at least the 30th of September, I'm going to write the prices for this year because
Right.
we're coming up on the buying season and things like that. And people need to know right off the rip. And I might post it like 2 or 3 times throughout the week, go on live or do a video or something like that. Hey, prices are going up at the grocery store. My product has to reflect those prices as well. I know that you love it because you've told me that you love my products and what I create. So, hey, let's help each other out. Get something you want, and let's help me out with the ingredients kind of thing. So, people, if you just kind of like let them know beforehand, before sticker shock. I know we've all been sticker shock before. I know I have, like foil, okay? But
Right.
but I think that might be a good solution. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think a warning definitely is a good solution.
It is, especially if you're not warning them, then they're going to buy their usual item and they're used to paying such a set price. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that's not what I paid last year. So like you're telling them right off rip, like, hey, I was been announcing this for the last month or two that prices are going to go up. So, and if those people that products, like I'm sure they do, they're probably looking out, and seeing what you're posting. So they're not going to miss the message.
Yeah.
So I know this is all good, but I got to say this before we go any further. If you want, here's a little tip. Ding, ding, ding. Here's a little tip. Why don't you say, hey, I'm offering, a package deal at this, at the new price or whatever you want to say, lock in now for the end of the year or holiday sales or something like that. And that's how you can get pre-sales. People are like, oh, that's going up, $5, $10 or whatever. Let me lock in now and get those prices now before they, after October 1st, October 30th, or October 15th, prices are going to go up. So that might be a good way to sell it. So we've been talking. I know that it's all good. We have Arlene here. Tell me what company you're with, Arlene, again.
Sweet Fantasy Michigan.
Sweet Fantasy Michigan. Great. I'm Tamala, and welcome to Tamala and Taylor's Treat Talk Tuesday. I'm going to let my co-host Taylor really run the meeting because you guys have met before. You guys have history. And I'm just going to jump in, double dutch in, where I can. And I know that it's going to be a really wonderful treat for our audience. Taylor, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, so I'm Taylor with Taylor's Kitchen, located in Albion, Michigan, where we make custom sweet treats for your special occasions. I can be found on all social media platforms at Sweet Spirit Treats. And we're just Arlene did introduce herself, but we want to know a little bit more about your company and what you actually produce and how's it going for you?
Okay. Hey, everyone. Like to say thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast. I've took some listens to you guys and I love your content and it's so engaging. It's very much needed, I think, for this time, the information you guys provide, and it's very tasteful to say the least. So yes, my name is Arlene Duncan. My business is named Sweet Fantasy Michigan. I started in, I believe it was July of 2021. So I just started the company almost on a whim. So what happened was a lot of my friends, they were getting into different ways of how to have another stream of income. They were getting into Forex, investments and all, some stuff that seemed legit, some stuff that seemed sketchy. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to just jump into anything. I'd rather make some type of additional income on what I know how to do. And I was like, I've been baking for forever, since I was a little girl. So why not try to make my side hobby something that I now can make money off of? So it first started off with me posting just one cake. That was my Banana-licious pudding cake. And from that point, I then added a Reese's cake. Then I started selling banana cheesecake bread. And that took off like crazy. I was getting orders from left and right. Barely almost couldn't even keep up with it for myself. The only drawback was when I had first started, I was living at home and my aunt was not playing about me being in her kitchen like that. So then I had to regroup and I had to come up with a blueprint of how I'm going to continue to bake when she's talking about I can't use her kitchen. You can't have baked goods and not have a kitchen. You got to have a kitchen.
You got to have a kitchen.
Right. By the grace of God, my church was so nice enough to allow me to use their commercial kitchen. So I was able to keep in business and just keep rolling with it. At first, it was just me making the cheesecake banana bread and making cakes. Then I started adding stuff to the menu. Then I was like, you know what, if I want to become even more legit, I'm going to have to get some legal stuff did. So I got my LLC. I got my Safe Serve. I started looking into business insurance and, everything I thought I would need to make my business legit. Got a business account, 2 of them. I just was like, okay, even though I may not be making that kind of money just yet, I need to prepare. So when the opportunity comes, I have everything I need to be able to go off into the stratosphere with this. So with that, it was nice because with summer, it allowed me to have more time. And plus I had a job that the hours are really nice to where it allowed me to put more time into my baking. Though eventually I did have a career change, and that kind of shifted the way I had to do business too. So right now I am currently still a marketer. I do full-time marketing. I also do digital content with that. But with the time I have now, I am still able to place orders for people, but not at the volume as I was, which is still okay for me, because I always still wanted to be able to advance in my career. And, you know, I spent a lot of money on the education. I want to be able to put that to use somehow. So yeah, and Sweet Fantasy Michigan is doing pretty doggone good. I'm doing custom treats and sweets. I also evolved in more into doing just overall catering for food as well. I first started off with the food, doing chicken and waffles, gourmet chicken and waffles. Yeah, they were really cool. So how that came about is I was doing treat waffles. So I do like the Oreo waffle with deep fried Oreos on top. I was doing this red velvet waffle. And one of my customers, they were like, you know what? Why don't you just put some chicken with it? I was like, huh? I mean, I'm doing sweets here. I ain't say nothing about no food. There y'all go. You can't satisfy y'all. You always want something more. And I was,
Always something different.
right. I said, you know
The
what?
extra ones.
Right. Right. So I'm saying, Arlene, you know you do make pretty decent chicken. Why not? Why not one day when you sell your dessert waffle, throw some chicken with it? And why did I do that? That kept me busy, I think, every weekend. When I would get off at Fridays in the midday, from Fridays through Saturday, because I don't like to work on Sunday, that kept me busy. Doing events, just doing individual orders and things of that such. And I actually almost was starting to stray away from my first love, baking, until then, you know, having to keep it with the demand of my chicken and waffles. And that was kind of bittersweet. I'm like, yeah, I like the money, but I like my cupcakes. I like my cakes. I like, you know, making my cake pops and stuff like that. But they were wanting chicken and waffles. So I had to give the people what they want. But then with that, I became very overwhelmed. I found myself having anxiety. Then I also found myself dealing with depression, with other stuff. So then I completely had to kind of draw back from that. Then now it's kind of where I'm at now with my new career. Me still trying to keep Sweet Fantasy alive, and just taking out the time to just make sure my well-being is good, and just allowing God to make my steps in order. Because like now with Sweet Fantasy, I've come to the conclusion that I do want a food truck. I do want a restaurant. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Sugar Factory. Have you heard of that restaurant?
No, I haven't heard of that before.
Okay, so it's a pretty cool restaurant. I think they just got one like in Detroit. So they have like these really cool sugary desserts. So I kind of took that business model. I'm like, I want to do that, but make it more soul food, you know, make it more culture, you know, make it more us. So that's kind of what I want to do with Sweet Fantasy. That is what I'm gonna do with Sweet Fantasy. So I'm just gonna allow God to allow those things to happen in its due time, not rush it, not just go out and get some big loan. Then like, okay, let me build this. I really want an actual business plan. I want not just, you know, a loan. I would prefer to have an investor, you know, it's preferably Black, you know, to keep the money community, you know. So I'm just gonna allow God to just keep working on me and to continue to build my business little by little and just not rush anything. So yeah, that's about me.
I mean, talk about this girl is on fire, if I could say that. I know I can't sing, but you know what I mean.
Thanks.
You have really just given me so much energy. I love your story. I know that it's going to work. You did what I had in my mind. You did what the people wanted. Yes, we have these wonderful products, but if someone says, if they keep coming back for saying, I want chicken and waffles, she was like, well, let me give them what the people want. Chicken and waffles. Okay. And then, you know, building that rapport, building that audience, they'll eventually come across to, well, whatever, you know, what else does she have? So
Right.
having that vision and having that mindset to say, okay, I'm going to give them what they want, but I'm going to be planning over here for the next step, the next level that I want to achieve. So I am just so glad that you shared that story because I feel very much inspired by it, and I'm sure that our audience does as well. I wanted to go back a little bit and let me ask this question, Taylor, and then I'll let you jump in, okay? When you talked about safe serve, it's so important that people know what that is because when you're in the industry, like we are in the industry of food and preparation and things like that, it's good. The idea, I tell everybody all the time, the idea is the easiest part. Okay, the execution and the layers of the bank accounts, getting the LLC, the insurance, the space, and all that other great stuff that goes along with your business, a food business. So, what is say is a safe serve? Safe serve, yeah.
So yes.
Serve
So
safe, serve safe. Which I always get them intertwined.
Google it, it'll pop up and you
Yeah,
and it knows what you're talking about. So
yeah.
that's one thing I do thank God for is, having the opportunity to go to college and learn about business and management and doing what I do because I'm kind of had like a mindset of always researching before I get into stuff. People don't do that. And with me having that background, that's the first thing I did was research. Once I baked that first cake and was like, you know what, let me slow down. Let's get some research because this is going to be legit in my mind. And I went on this website, this food industry website, and it just was listing things you need. One of those was an LLC, different stuff if you have an actual commercial space, which you should be in a commercial space. But I know in Michigan, we have the food cottage law, and I was operating under that for a while. I found that out doing my research. Then the safe serve, serve save, whatever it's called, So then
that.
right. And, this is something essential. Then I realized how easy it was for me to get. I'm like, this is something I can get right now. So basically, it's I don't know if it's considered a certificate, but I know it's definitely needed if you're going to be in the food industry. And it's an online program. It just goes over the basic stuff as far as cleaning, like she said, preparation, just how to properly handle food. And it's so easy to get. I think I paid like $12. It was, or 25, 30. I don't know. It was cheap. And it's compared to some other stuff you got to get in the food industry. And yeah, I think I finished it in a matter of a couple weeks. And now you don't have to go like anywhere to get it. You can just print it out right online and sign it and boom. And that's it. But it's very essential. And you will be surprised how many people that are trying to start off and they don't do their research, then they get all in a hole and figure out, oh, I need to do this, or I was supposed to do that, this and that. So whatever you do, folks, please do your research and find out all you need to do. Because yes, IRS and everybody, all those legal entities will come after you if you do not got your paperwork together.
And there it is.
It is a lot of different levels to business. So many things like when I formed my LLC, I did it through a company just because I didn't want to mess anything up, right? So I'm here, I'm going through, I'm like, yeah, I paid my money to this company. So I'm figuring I'm going to get more help, than I actually had gotten. And so they're like, yeah, you did it. We did your LLC and everything was like easy. And I was like, all right. So I paid the money and then they hit me with this list and they're like, okay, now here are the things you need to do on your own. And it was like the bank account, the connecting different things, but they don't refer you to they just said you need a lawyer, you need an accountant, you need a website developer, you need you need marketing, you need all these different things. And I'm like, I just want to sell my food. I just want to sell my cakes, right? And so that's how you get into a whole different thing when you're like, oh, you want to be legit and sell your cakes. Like you want to go through, the government. Okay, you have an EIN number. So now we're going to take 40% of everything you make. And you're like, but I don't really have a CPA. I don't really know any of these things. So now you go through this list and they're like, all of these things you need to have. And you're like, what? I just wanted one thing, but the research is very key. One thing's gonna lead to something else and something else, and you gotta have all these things to make the business work. Um, but for most people that's cooking, they're just like, hey, my mom taught me how to make these pound cakes, and I need some money, so I'm gonna sell these pound cakes, But like it can be you can get certificates from like your county level and then surf safe and then surf safe management, and so it is lots of different things. Then you can join different organizations that teaches about cakes and different things like that. So it's so many different conferences and all kind of places that you can go to learn, but you Dorina, but you don't actually, start out with that. You're just like, I want to bake because I love to bake. And so
Yeah.
then you gotta be faced with the choice. Do you want to have a hobby or do you want to have a business? And so
Right.
that's kind of where like you separate from people who are just like everyday bakers. Like, do I want to have a business? Do I want to have a hobby? And so it's great that you decided you want to have an actual business. You want this to be elevated. You want it to be something more than just, here. So now you got to have a strategy. Now you're going to pop ups, now you got to have your business right. And it's just a whirlwind, but I feel like it's exciting. I feel like I know I'm going to do it. So it's working out for me.
That's good. Yes, and that what kind of made it stressful too is that had so many different backgrounds to myself, like especially having some experience in business and with the knowledge I knew than baking, and I had to just become so many roles that I'm like, I don't want to, like, if I'm gonna do marketing, I'm gonna do marketing. If I'm a bake, I'm a bake. I don't want to have to do all this different stuff. But when you become an entrepreneur, you literally have to be everything.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode so far. This is only part 1 of our episode, and we can't wait to share part 2 with you. As always, like, share, and subscribe.